Hi folks, CodeTutor here and my name is Anil Deshpande. Welcome to another video on unit testing in Android. And in the previous video, we just wrote a simple unit test, created a country filter, wrote a simple assert to check whether our filter functionality or logic is working fine or not. And we shall continue to build on top of this. We have written our unit test, but there are a couple of problems with this. The first problem is we have put two assert statements in single unit test. Ideally speaking, this is not a good practice. You should never mix more than one assertion logic in a unit test. If you want to test something else, ideally speaking, you should put it in a separate test. So what do I mean by that is just copy this and write a separate test, and let's call it as test filter by drive side. Instead of left, what you are testing is each entry is drive by left side, and you can assert that under this particular test. And if you run this, it should work perfectly fine. And if you want to run both the tests that you have written under this country filter test, then you can just directly click on this run country filter test, and that should basically run both the test cases. Now, if I just expand the contents of this particular test cases, you observe that the arranging logic is pretty much same across both the unit tests. In this case, our arrange logic is pretty simple. We are just setting a list of countries, but it is a repeated code. We can refine this better. So what we can do is we can put this logic under this. So we arrange it once and then use it in both the test cases. Now let me run the unit tests. They are working perfectly fine. Some purists would say that there is even better way of setting this up in a proper way, and that is using the at before and at after annotations with certain functions, so that the JUnit framework takes care of properly setting up and tearing down class under test or whatever the setup that you need before you run the test cases. So what I can do is I can write at before, and let me call that particular function as setup, and in that particular setup I will initialize the countries. So let me create private countries, which is list of country, and in the before I initialize the countries with the proper values, and then I will write another function after, and ideally speaking the after functions are usually referred to as teardown functions, and in this you should basically initialize it to empty list. And if you run this, it should still work perfectly fine. Now if you go to the way we have written our test cases, these are functions, that is test filter by drive side hyphen left, test filter by drive side, each entry is drive by left side. They look like some kind of abbreviations of what you are trying to test. But if you don't want this way of writing the test cases, and instead of this you want to give more descriptive test cases, then you can use backtick. That is like this. And when you do this, you can write little bit more descriptive names to the functions, like given list of countries when filtered by left, list should contain only left drive side countries. And if I run this, now you see little bit better descriptive unit test name here. I'm not saying that you should always use this methodology, but this is an option that you have, especially if you are following BDD, that is behavior driven development. Then developers follow this methodology of writing the test cases, and you can observe that compiler won't complain how you write this particular test cases. The same test class can contain both ways of written test cases, but what I suggest is if you are sticking to one way of writing the test case descriptions, then stick to that. Don't mix and match, otherwise it will lead to confusion. So let me just undo this. As of now, we will just stick to this. So far in our test cases, what we have done is just written two types of assert statements, assert equals and assert true. But there are more different kinds of asserts. So in the next upcoming video, we will spend some time in understanding different kinds of asserts and how to use them to write different assertion scenarios. So stay tuned. This to the end of this particular video. Don't forget to like, comment, share the video and subscribe to the channel. Take care. Bye.